All right, what's up, everybody? Navi here. Gonna be posting a little bit of an update here on my plans for the remainder of this league and my plans for the next league. I have pretty much not met all of my goals, but I've pretty much burnt out, I guess you could say, on PoE2 in its current state. Um, this is my main character, level 96, Stormweaver, Spark character. Don't have any super GG items, but I do have a melting Maelstrom flask, which was pretty expensive at the time that I bought it. I'm able to do pretty much all map content. There are obviously some mods that I prefer not to do, but yeah, mapping is pretty darn smooth on this character. I can pretty much blast through T15, T16, +1, +2, 6 mods. There's a couple of mods I don't like running, obviously, risk of dying, but yeah, this character's pretty sick. Really enjoyed leveling it up and playing it through, the 90s. Getting to 97, I've played a little bit here at 96. It's just kind of a meaningless grind. I don't really need one more passive point. So, I'd be doing it just to say I did it, and I don't really care enough to do that. So, in terms of the other characters that I've played, I'll go through these really quickly. So, here in Standard League, this was my first character. I played this basically blind without looking up anything about the game. Seriously, like I wasn't really planning on getting that into PoE2 this early, but yeah, I ended up booting up the game and just decided to play one day, and so I decided to play minions. So I did hear about the Infernalist Raging Spirits build, and so I did try that. Got to level 80, found it to be a little bit frustrating. This was like before any sort of patches to the game, so like minion play was a little bit clunky. Also, I ended up following a build guide once I'd gotten to mapping, and I was following Crip's, strength, life, armor stacking build, and it turns out that life and armor is just kind of dog shit. So, at least compared to energy shield. So, for the amount of investment you put into it. So, anyways, this was my first character. I got it to level 80, and then decided to reroll. At that point, I already had a different second character. I had deleted that one and replaced it with this one, which I'll tell you about in a second. But this was my second character, the Stormweaver, and this is the one that I had by far the most enjoyment with. And so, I already talked about this one. Really enjoy playing this style of character. I will probably, assuming that there are no major changes to Spark, I will probably be playing this again in the new league whenever that happens. My third character was this one, and I'll just quickly show you why I made this character. I found this staff while mapping. +7 fire skills, 50% cast speed, 150 mana, 142% increased fire damage, and then gain 30% damage as extra fire. Big tiers, big rolls, lots and lots of damage. And so I was really thinking, okay, how can I make a build that makes use of this staff? I really wanted to try some sort of Flame Blast Ignite build, and so I tried that. I ended up doing it on a Chronomancer because I really just wanted to try out this Ascendancy, the Time Stop, the little, what is it called, the Temporal Rift, where you zoom back to where your character was before. I just wanted to try it out. I don't think it's, in fact, I know it's not the ideal Ascendancy for this type of build. I probably should have played Blood Mage. And it's possible I still might try to do that before this league is over, but not right now. So I got to level 83, ran into a pretty big issue with my character just being super squishy. With Flame Blast, you want monsters around you so you can blow them up, or at least ignite them. And I really struggled with any sort of, recovery. There's not a whole lot of recovery mechanics in this game. There is, what is it, where you get energy shield from the little enemies that die around you, Grim Feast. But the problem I was running into with that character specifically is that Flame Blast was killing them outside of the Grim Feast, range, and so I wasn't getting any recovery, um, and I was just dying a lot, and it was just kind of annoying. So I kind of gave up on this character. At that point, I tried an SSF run, which was fun. I enjoyed that. I made it through the end of the campaign and did a little bit of mapping. I've never been super motivated to do a whole lot of SSF content, but I did enjoy going through the campaign. It took me about 24 hours, so like 3 solid days of playing. It was fun. I had a good time. Then I decided, I was like, okay, let me try out this stat stacking boss killer that people have been raving about. I first leveled it on a monk. Didn't quite realize that you're supposed to do it on a Gemling Legionnaire instead. So I kind of leveled this monk for no reason. I did have some fun playing around with, Ice Strike explosions and all that good stuff. But ultimately rerolled over to the Gemling Legionnaire, leveled this character very quickly. Finally did get this character online. It's not to the point where I can kill T4s, but I can kill like T2 tier 3 pinnacle bosses. The mapping is kind of clunky. I'm not really a big fan of being super slow and having this movement attack ability. You get stuck on a lot of little nooks and crannies like this, and it's just really, I don't know, it's just kind of annoying to path around with. So not my favorite style of character, but I did get it online without too much investment. I think the total character worth here is probably like 10 or 12 divines or something like that. Nothing too crazy. So that was fun. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's where I'm at right now. And so I have a little document here prepared that I'm going to go through to talk about my current league summarization of how I'm feeling. And then I'm going to talk about goals for the next league. So like I said before, I'm feeling a little bit of a lack of motivation to play any sort of additional endgame content. Main reasons for that, I don't really have any goals to get any higher level characters than what I already have. The economy seems to be thoroughly fucked at this point. I don't know. Listen, I'm not like some crazy experienced, rich PoE player, but to me, the economy seems to be kind of bricked. I mean, about a week and a half ago, divines were 120x to 1, maybe even a little bit less than that. For whatever reason, that has skyrocketed. It has like more than doubled. Divines are like 250 to 1 now with exalts, and like I don't really know how to farm any sort of meaningful amount of currency at this point. Obviously, I could just farm breaches, pick up breach splinters, but honestly, my hands kind of hurt from picking up so many breach splinters. I really wish that they would just all drop at the end in a stack, so that I'm not spending, tons of time in the map, in the breach, clicking breach splinters one at a time. It's actually really, really awful. So, yeah. The economy's pretty screwed, and the unfortunate thing is that in order for me to really meaningfully scale any of my existing characters, mainly the bossing character, I would need substantial amounts of currency, like, tens, if not hundreds of divines to really get into the super late game for what those characters can do. And I don't really know how to obtain that at this point outside of like RMT, which is not something that I want to do. So yeah, I'm pretty much finished with endgame content, I think. I'm also feeling a lack of motivation to level anything new. Main reason for that is that I've gone through the campaign 6 times now, including once through SSF, and the campaign just takes too damn long. Even with optimal leveling uniques, you're looking at like a full day, if not longer than that. If you are the type of person that likes to have like a show or a stream off to the side, you occasionally get a little bit distracted. It's going to take you longer than 8 hours. I mean, we're talking like 6, 7, 8 hours at least, and that's like fully focused on what you're doing in the game. And when you've gone through the campaign 6 times, it just isn't that interesting anymore. So what I'm going to be doing instead, not playing a lot while I'm at home, to be honest. Um, I'm not going to force myself to play just because I do love the game. I'm just sort of ready for an economy reset is kind of how I feel. So instead of forcing myself to play, I'm going to focus on creating some guide content to upload to YouTube. I can do this at home, but I can also do this at work. And I can't play any games at work, really. Don't have a computer that can do that, but I can work on guide content. So that can be something I can do during some downtime at work. Don't have a lot of downtime at work, but maybe 1.5 hours each day I could spend some time doing that at work. Things that I'm interested in making. Zone by zone leveling guides. I know that there are things like this out there already, but I want to take a crack at it. Basically, this could be something that you could either follow if you are a beginner, or it could be something that you can follow just because you don't want to miss things, or if you're playing an SSF for the first time. I feel like having gone through the campaign a number of times now and have done a little bit of research on my own, I can make a pretty thorough zone by zone leveling guide showing you, the general zone layouts, the different things you want to be looking for in each zone so you don't miss them, so that you can optimally level through the campaign. Also, could potentially make some end game guides for maybe like what you're supposed to do with the early part of the end game, the middle part of the late game, or the end game, and then the late end game guide. That I'm a little bit less familiar with, less qualified for, so I might not do that. And then one other idea I had for guides was Atlas zone layouts. So Mark, I believe, or I can't remember actually who it was. One of the guys in the interview that the GGG interview did with Darth Microtransaction and Gazzy TV, they said that one of the changes they made was that they were going to make all the maps a little bit more rewarding, and there was going to be a little bit of specialization to each of the map layouts. Like this map layout, like Savannah, might have this particular characteristic. Like it might have the most rare monsters, or it might have the most chests, or whatever. I'm going to really do some research here. This is another thing I can do at work while I have some downtime. I'm going to do some research here and see if I can put together a layout guide, honestly for myself, but then also for anybody else, so that next league, if you have a plan of what you want to farm, what particular game content you would like to farm, whether that's Breach or Ritual or Expedition or Delirium or whatever, you can have an idea of which zone layouts are going to be ideal for that particular type of content. I think all of us that have played the game at this point know that if you're farming Breach, you probably don't want to be doing Crypt, right? Like, Crypt is awful for Breach, but it could be really good for something else, like maybe Expedition or, Delirium. I don't know. So I'll be thinking about that. If you guys have any ideas of other guides that you think that I could potentially make or that need to be made that don't exist right now, please feel free to let me know in the comments. This part of the document is blank. I'm going to be thinking about this still. I do know that one of the goals that I have for next league is to farm up a lot of currency and see if I can buy the Temporalis chess piece. I didn't quite get there this league. At one point, I kind of had enough currency to be able to buy it, but it would have involved me pretty much liquidating everything I had to try to get that one item, and I just didn't do it. So that is going to be one of the goals for sure, assuming they don't change the item. I'd love to do some teleporting around the game. But other than that, I'm not exactly sure what my goals are. So I'm going to be thinking about that and maybe do an update video in the next couple of days once I've figured that out. Okay, well, hopefully this was insightful. It was definitely insightful for me. Honest to God, I just sort of made this video for myself more than anybody else to kind of organize my thoughts. But anyways, if you enjoyed, feel free to like or subscribe, and I will see you guys here in the next one.